So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Solving the Gap podcast. We are going to do part 2 of the discipline deficit. I'm here with Joe Caldwell, and thank you all for your comments, and let's begin.
It's not our goals that challenge nor propel us, but how we solve the chaos between where we are now and where we desire to be. This is Solving the Gap podcast.
We talked about the 24-hour challenge in our first podcast and how uncomfortable doing something that is foreign to you and to you bring in your whole crew. Sure. The other challenge that I give people is it has some psychological basis to it and some medical basis to it, is 21-day challenge. Mm-hmm. Anytime you're going to start anything new, do it every day for 21 days. Even though you don't do that, you may do it organizationally. The question is, and I want to ask this point blank, because you guys have solved something that every organization should solve. When you bring on somebody new, how you vet them isn't the conversation. When they're now onboarding, mm-hmm. using discipline, how do you discipline them through that? I know it's not 21 days. I would call it 21 days. The initial period where as the owner, I got to get him through that or her through that gap. Mm-hmm. How do you intentionally, it's uncomfortable, and you guys are ravenous at the sales cycle. Mm-hmm. It's going to suck. How do you create the suck?
So, speaking specifically about business and bringing someone into our organization, we have it set up to a science. Like, this is the 6 weeks. This is your onboarding. Mm-hmm. And this is what every day looks like. And this is the accountability to someone. If someone's willing to do that, we know they got a shot. Mm-hmm. We know they got a shot. They've committed to it. They said they were going to do it. And then you always inspect what you expect. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't happen, I found one more person that wasn't meant to do this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Most organizations won't inspect what they expect. Mm-hmm. Because if you actually inspect what you expect, then you had to have done it first. Mm-hmm. You have to
be watching it being done.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes a lot more effort.
So that gap and the discipline mm-hmm. conversation. Accountability is how I heard that.
True.
And longer conversation. It's uncomfortable for the person witnessing it. And it's uncomfortable for the person doing it. Dude, I don't want you to watch me.
Right.
That's the deal. So if you're going to be a part of a team, we do this together. Mm-hmm. What happens there?
One of the things that we talk about the whole time, though, is that I don't believe that I will be accountable to you long term. Like you hear about accountability partners, mm-hmm. Like I'm going to go to the gym because I told Tom mm-hmm. I would be there and he's going to be there, and what will he think if I don't go?
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the gym because I said I would be there. If you show up, great. If you don't, great. I'm there because mm-hmm. I said I would do it, right? So this accountability partners, I don't believe that you'll do anything long term accountable to somebody else.
It's not possible.
It's impossible.
Yeah,
you have to learn accountability to yourself, which the foundation of that is discipline. Mm-hmm. I disciplined myself to do this. Many times over the last 10 years of building this nationwide organization, have I said I would do something and people said they would do something, and I showed up and I was the only one there. I still fucking did it. Mm-hmm. I don't care if they did it or not.
Yep.
Because eventually the ones that will be personally responsible and accountable to themselves, they show up.
They stick around.
That's in the gap.
Yep.
Right? And that's what you were talking about with the 200 miler.
Yeah.
Right? That's what he did.
So and the question back on the table is, I get self-discipline. So let me reframe it. You're trying to see if this other person that's onboarding can evolve to the self-discipline necessary.
That's right.
But that ain't happening for a while. So what happens when they don't? On day 1, day 2, week 1, week 2.
We got a 3-strike program. Yeah.
But I get, and
And they know it is too. Like they know how it's set up, and we designed it so it was just hard enough to put them out of that, to put them in the gap. They've said what they want to accomplish. Mm-hmm. They've said who they are. Mm-hmm. They've told us this is where I'm going.
Yep.
You lay out this is what you got to. You give people enough rope to hang themselves, mm-hmm. and you figure out who you're dealing with.
But they're going to hang themselves. Mm-hmm. Now here's the other $1 million question that I think probably will come up every podcast. What you articulated, everybody understands. Mm-hmm. You're going to on board. You're going to try something new. What people may not understand is the parent company knows you're going to screw up. What do you do during the screw up? That's my question. They're going to screw it up. What do you do?
Get down on there with them. Say, hey, it's a 3-strike program. That's 1 strike. This is probably why. And you help them face and become aware of why they're choosing to stay comfortable instead of choosing discipline. And if you'll get down in, and that's no fun with people, right? Like yep. you've actually got to be invested in that human, right. Yep. And invested in. And a lot of times I've told people, you don't have to believe this works. I'll believe for you for a little while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for a while. Yeah,
for a little while.
Which is what coaching does, like football coaching or track coaching or whatever type of coach you are. You pick up a new athlete. They can't do what you're asking them to do.
Right.
That they can. They know they can. Then they have to keep proving to you, which is the common thing. No, they have to keep proving to themselves.
That's right.
And I think coaches just reinforce that you prove to yourself you can do it. That's right. I can't do it. Oh my God, my leg hurts. Oh, I can't get up at 4 a.m, Joe. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
But I just proved to you I can't. So that's what the interesting conversation about in that rut or the gap. Mm-hmm. You have to prove to yourself what's going on, which is what we were talking about in the first one. It's the self look is the first thing. Because I can prove to you, hey, Joe, I don't think the 4 o'clock in the morning is going to work. Look, I just wrote a book about it. I need sleep. I need an 8-hour sleep cycle. So you want to prove to me that you need an 8-hour sleep cycle when I'm telling you if you do it this way, you need to prove to yourself you don't need an 8-hour sleep cycle. That's right. I could tell you till I'm blue in the face. That, I think, is the $1 million question and answer. Dude, prove to yourself that you can do it. Don't keep proving to yourself that you can't. And on first iteration, you will guarantee prove to yourself that you can't do it.
Right.
I can't do it.
And we talk about a lot having a short memory. So you're gonna fall on your face here, but don't remember. Pick up the phone. Go to the next meeting. Yeah. Like, keep moving through this to prove to yourself, because we can come in and show them all day long. Hey, this territory, I can do this here. I can do this there. They know we can do it. Mm-hmm. We show them. Mm-hmm. We do it with them. Mm-hmm. And so it's a constant conversation of them showing themselves and being accountable to themselves.
Which that's really how I distinguish discipline as the conversation of the day. Iteration 1, and I don't think there's an iteration 2. I think there's always an iteration 1. Step. Can you give me a hack?
This is the hack.
Dude,
do it.
Yeah. And I've always tried to find the top people in something that I'm interested in. Mm-hmm. If I wanted to run, don't ask the dudes running 5Ks. If you want to run 100 miles, don't ask the guys running 10K or 5K. No. They'll teach you to run what they're running. That's ask right. The people at the top. The people at the top have boiled it down to simple shit at the level like it can't be that simple. Yeah.
Yes, that's simple.
Just go do that. Yeah, but I don't.
Got to be a shortcut.
No, there's no hack. And and I just use this as an analogy. The top ultra marathon runners it's boiled down to simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even think they're running 100 miles. Yeah. I've yet to talk to a competent ultra marathon runner that looks at the total elephant.
Mm-mm.
They're like, I can only tranche off an hour, and this guy tranches it off to 30 minutes. I only think 30 minutes ahead. I'm like, what do you mean? I said, how long did it take? He goes, well, I can tell you at the end how long the race took, but I don't think I need to get it done in 24 hours or 200 miles. I think it's 38 hours.
Jeez.
38 hours of not easy running. I mean, they run through terrible areas because I can only think 30 minutes ahead.
Yep.
What I'm doing right now, how I feel right now. I don't care how I think I'm going to feel if I keep doing this. I'm like, well, what do you eat? Simple question. What do you eat? Real food. I'm like, well, what about all those goos? He goes, that's a sales pitch, my friend. Your body can't deal with that shit. Go ahead and you can try. You can do it for 5 to 10K.
Right.
But at the 40-mile mark, you're dead. I said, so what do you eat? Cheese, which is not I'm in shape. Cheese, meat, vegetables. I'm like, well, how do you get it there? I have people supporting me. Mm-hmm. I don't carry that shit. You can't carry that heavy weight. I'm like, well, it can't be that simple. I said, well, how do you run? Because the only thing I think about is running vertically. I don't think about speed because I can't think about speed because I can't control my speed because the terrain controls my speed.
Dictates.
So he just thinks about standing up straight and being light on his feet. I'm like, okay, well, I'll try it. So I start trying it that way. I'm like, that's brilliant. Why am I worried about gear and shoes? He goes, shoes, gear. Who gives a fuck about that?
Yeah.
And then talking to you over the years, you break things down to simple stuff too.
Simple.
I'm like, oh my God, why can't people understand? That's the way to solve what you call the discipline to get from A to B in that Rio Grande distance. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's 22 miles across from south to north on the Rio Grande. From go rim to rim.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. It's 1 mile. Do the first mile, figure out the second mile, figure out the third mile. Okay, you got a stream crossing at the bottom. Don't worry about the stream crossing at the bottom when you're at the top.
Right.
Deal with that when you get there. You can prep for it, but don't be running the first mile thinking about the uphill on the last mile. Mm-hmm. That's how the top people do it that way. Why the hell do the rest of us do it differently than that? Simple shit. That's, So how do you structure your day? Which is the next
Simple.
conversation.
So I have the different areas of my life that I'm working on with my health, my relationships, my personal growth, and my business. And there's 3 things in each area. Simple 3 things. Mm-hmm. That I got to do those things, and I break it down into days and weeks, and I know where I'm going every 90 days. I know where I'm going to be at the end of the year or what my goal is, and I know 5 years and on down, but you have to break it down so okay, I do this today. Mm-hmm. I get this done today, and it does not take as much time. I see busy people, and they're so busy, and they're late to everything, and they can never fit it all in. And I think, unbelievable. They'll never accomplish anything. They'll run in a circle a long time. They probably do a 200-miler a day, round in a circle.
Yeah.
I mean,
a lot of people do that. They have a million things to do.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean you have a million things to do?
Yeah.
What'd you get done? Well, I kind of got that one done. Then I nudged that one, and then I kind of nudged that one. Dude, stop.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you move that one first? Isolate yourself, not negatively, but
right.
Do that. Then do that. Then if you're in a conversation with somebody, don't have 10 other things that you're dealing with in your head.
Right.
kill all that stuff off. Do one simple freaking thing at a time.
That's it. And a lot of people don't realize I look at my mind like a stage that actors are on. And I only put one actor on the stage at a time. Because if I have one actor on a stage at a time, it gets 100% of my intention. It gets 100% of my focus. And the second that I put a second actor on the stage in my mind, a lot of people will go, well, this actor gets 50%, this actor gets 50%. Nope. The actor goes to 30% and 30%. And you lose 40% of your intention and productivity.
Yep.
Just like that by putting a second one on. And most people are running around with 5 and 6 actors on the stage and getting 1%, and they get 5% out of 95. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's, but I used to do it. I mean, I realized it because that's what I did. And I got a lot of nothing accomplished.
Yeah. A lot of busy work that never matures.
Yeah. My desk was straight and organized.
Yeah. And it was comfortable. If I stay in my room and make it really pretty.
So comfortable.
Yeah.
And then the wolves show up at the door and they want to get paid.
Another remarkable thing, and I don't mean to keep, blowing smoke up your ass in a friendly way, but one of the things that I found in a remarkable place that what you do is everybody that is on in every meeting is the most important person there.
100%.
From my vantage point, I know she won't let me say her name, but I'm going to say it anyway. Amanda is the most important person in the room. So is Tyler. So is everybody else. They don't feel like they're 30% of the equation. Mm-mm. From their vantage point, just as a witness, it never feels like you're the most important person. Never feels like, it never feels like there's a disparate level of grace being spent. And I don't know if there's a question in it, except I'm interested in how that occurs, because that to me is a big gap organizationally in every other organization.
Sure.
How in the hell do the people that show up to the war room how does it occur to them that they are the player or the wolf?
So, that's interesting that you say that, because it's been a goal of mine for years, is to create the environment where, number one, they're growing. If they're growing and they're committed to personal change, they feel great about themselves. But to do it in an organization where you take the different roles in an organization, and I had a banker one time when we started to do well. They never talked to me when we weren't doing well, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. But well, you're a self-made man, and I immediately, this red flag went up in me, and I was like, that does not exist. There's no self-made man. There's a wheel, and there's a ton of spokes in it, and no one spoke is any more important than the other one, because every single roll will cause that wheel to break, and you have to make sure people feel that and understand that. It doesn't matter how the world perceives their role, right? And I've always told people that I can't pay you what you're worth. I can only pay you what the position is worth. That has nothing to do with you. And so when you invest in people like that, which is probably a whole nother podcast, because people can treat their families that same way. There's no hierarchy in a family.
I think I'm in charge until Chance wakes up in the morning.
Right.
Then I realize who's really in charge.
Right. But it's a I don't even know if I'm using the word right, but it's a symbiotic relationship that when people understand that, they value the other people for who they are, not just what they do. But that makes what they do that much more valuable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, to me, it's still an uncomfortable conversation. I get it as an observer, and your answer makes some of the clouds go away of the swamp, some of the mist, and it's still uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And as opposed to, well, here's how it's done, A, B, C, D, E. Okay, you can download how to make $1 million. Google it. It'll tell you.
Oh, sure.
But the distance between the download and you making $1 million, oh my God. And you just articulated a couple steps into the swamp, not the whole linear progression to get there. And what I find in your answer is it's still in the gap.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking in the gap where it's still nebulous, gray. I get it. I try it. Doesn't work. Oh, good. That's where you need to keep in that space as opposed to, oh, if I do what Joe says, then I'm going to be this person over here. By the time you get over there, it's going to be another rut, and you have to constantly step left out of the rut where the snow is deeper. And
100%.
that's the key. And even in talking about it, it's gray and uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Like, God dang, I wish you could just tell me how to do this. You know what I mean?
Step 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Everybody's journey is different, though.
Yep.
Everybody's journey is different. You can take principles, but I think that if people would realize that discipline, discomfort, punishment, however we explain it, however we define it, if they would just live there, and pretty soon, 3 steps into that swamp becomes comfortable, and you have to keep moving, continually, and it's not just a self goal or a self preservation. That's why I said that about there's no such thing as a self-made man. I don't know a person that's made it that didn't have a mentor, that didn't pull information. I have mentors in my life that have never met me. I've listened to everything they've ever said and read everything they've ever written, and
tried it and fleshed out the goods and the bads.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And I try to constantly stay in that level of discomfort there and discipline. And I think I told you, my journey into that has taken me down some weird roads. I remember experiencing great success and great income, and I'd never been at this place in my life, and it was so fun, and everything was going great. And I woke up in January, and I went, it's too comfortable. Oh my gosh. The whole thing that I tell people about seeking pain, or, if you seek the pain,
I'm just going to stay in my office now.
Yeah, I was like, I'm too comfortable. Comfortable. Oh my gosh. What do I do? As I'm walking across this enormous bedroom to this enormous bathroom to this closet this closet that's bigger than my first apartment. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going, what? I've got to do something. That took me down some weird roads where I had to go and get uncomfortable, go find the challenges that would move me, not just in business, but in health and relationships and I think they're all correlate. I don't think you can do well one in one area without over time destroying another. Now you'll burn the other ones to the ground. Then eventually, I use the analogies. If you just try to make $1 million and spend 14 hours a day doing it, 2 things are going to happen, or 3. One is you'll make it. The second thing is you're going to split half of it with somebody very quickly. Oh yeah. Or the third one is your health is so bad that maybe you made it and you retire. 2 years later, you're dead. Yeah. Guaranteed. Yeah. Because you don't know what else is available, and you've not been uncomfortable for years. And it's gone, and which is the PTSD or the suicide rate. Sure. You go from top, 2 years later, these guys are killing themselves. That's why when you were talking about being uncomfortable as a dad, you hadn't had to be a daddy. Who was that guy? Yeah. Who was that guy? Yeah. And getting in that, figuring that out, learning from somebody, listening to somebody else's experience in that area. That's where you want to be, first and foremost, and then tranching it out, right, in that uncomfortable zone. That is the zone. That gap is the zone of discipline. Yeah, I would say the same thing. In that gap is discipline happens to you, or you discipline yourself to do simple shit. So
everybody listening and watching don't realize that Joe and I have completed, or with his help, I've completed the last chapter of the next book that and he can't edit it because he can't read, but that's okay, Joe. It's all
I'm
right.
getting to it.
I know it's uncomfortable. I'll get to it. All right.
It's in my bag. All my uncomfortable stuff is in my bag.
And we spent some time, and Joe represents to me what I call the wolf, and not the predator. And probably get into it deep next podcast, but I want to acknowledge you for at least allowing me to write about my experience of you and seeing your edits and forthcoming edits that will happen. But in that great conversation, in that gap, I think the only people through are the wolf. Mm-hmm. They pull the sheep. But if you're a sheep, and we'll talk about it next time, being pulled through a zone of uncomfort, somebody is leading it. Mm-hmm. And I'm interested to see how we flesh out that conversation next time.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be really fun. I like talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
It's good. It matters. And people that are listening, it's if you're looking for ethereal or a shortcut, this is not the podcast for them.
Yeah.
It's not. There is no shortcut.
Just quit.
Yeah.
If you're looking for if you don't like what you're doing, quit. Yeah. You're going to solve it right there.
Solve it. We just solved it.
Yeah, we solved it for you. Just like you came to listen, we solved it.
Oh man. But I'm looking forward to this journey with you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff we talk about, it's not comfortable, right? Most people don't talk about the shit of life.
Yep.
It's just here's 3 points, a poem, and a prayer. Good
Right.
luck.
Yeah.
But they won't get down in it with you.
Yep.
And actually walk it out. And that's a key. That's what this podcast is here to do.
Yep.
Is actually put the meat on the table and walk through. And I can't think of any better a person to do it with. I don't think I've told you this, but somebody that was a Navy SEAL. Let me
stretch out here.
Somebody that was a Navy SEAL for 23 years. And then I know other Navy SEALs. that served, and I have a high degree of respect for them. But to make the transition to figuring out their relationships when they get back, to figuring out business, that's a whole nother world.
Business is
a whole nother world. And figuring out health.
That's fucking not easy.
No. It's uncomfortable.
Oh, man.
It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable.
Don't know where money comes from when you're in the military.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you were out. I'll use this analogy. You were out here, even though I think everybody lives in their own war.
Sure.
But the military is socialism.
Yeah. It's taken care of. Right?
Yeah. You're taken care of. Money comes. I don't know. You know where money comes? It's in the bank. Mm-hmm. It's not because of what I do. It never occurs to you what you do, who you hang out with, who you develop, what you add value to. I'm a Navy SEAL and I get paid.
Yep.
That's the deal.
Right.
Then getting out.
Uh-oh.
Wait, there's no money coming in the bank. Where does it come from? Literally, that's the question that you have in your head.
Right. And it was funny, the first time we were talking about, I don't think I said it out loud. I didn't want to offend you or make light of anything that you had done to serve the country and everything you had gone through and what you had learned through that. But we were talking about SEAL training, and you were talking about Hell Week. And when you explain that and what somebody goes through and the process that you took those SEALs through, what you went through yourself 5 times, and then what you took SEALs through, I heard the term Hell Week, and after you had explained that, I thought, good God, I had 15 years of those. Mm-hmm. I lived a Hell Week for 15 years on this side. You figured it out in what, 6?
Mm-hmm.
And are still figuring it out, still staying uncomfortable, still staying in the discipline zone, that gap. and headed where you want to go. And that's it's incredible how you've been able to make that transition.
I thought you were going to hack how I was going to make money there. I'm like, he has a solution for more money. And, so, and I want to kind of close with this. My experience of meeting, men like you and other, what I call wealth mentors, if you will. I had stopped, having met all y'all, I had stopped looking for money intentionally because none of y'all look for money. And are you adding value or are you sucking value out of something? I'm like, oh, okay, well, what the hell is value? Let me go look what this word is. I don't know what value is. Then I'm like, I'm just going to either add value or I'm not going to play. So if I can't contribute something measurable, which I think is what I call value, if I can't contribute something that moves the needle, I won't play with somebody. And that money follows value.
It does.
That is the most uncomfortable experience in the world. Dude, just pay me. Whether it wins or loses, whether I add value or not, please just pay me. That's what feels comfortable. Mm-hmm. Like, be a fee-based person. Give me money. I don't care if it makes a difference. It's up to you. I said, I want to do it the harder road. Don't pay me until we hit it. And gosh, a couple of my partners are like, dude, you're killing us. Do they ever not pay? Well, it's not every Friday. So it's going to take us 6 months to figure this out. Let's take 6 months.
Right.
And that's now my comfort zone.
Oh, yeah.
If it doesn't work, I don't get anything.
And I remember going through that in business and going, I'm going to be uncomfortable and provide the most amount of value. And my money issues were solved shortly thereafter.
I think it happens very quickly.
Yeah. It's very, very, it's almost like you never notice a particular type of car. And
pink Cadillacs.
Yeah. You just never notice that they ever existed or whatever, and someone brings your awareness to it, and then all of a sudden that's all you see everywhere, and that's what happened for money. Like I quit looking for it. My awareness was there. I knew that it was needed, but I started focusing on the value, and then the money. I mean, it solved itself. Yeah. Like it was like I couldn't look anywhere and not see a way towards it.
That to me is what I also experience is my definition of discipline. Discipline yourself to seek and give something of value to them, as opposed to pull value from something.
Right.
And I've not done the pull value from something. I'm assuming that the more value you drain from something, the less you actually get in the long term. So I'm sure somebody
you know what
help.
Is a great example of that? I was talking about this with somebody the other day. I don't go to networking events anymore, like B&I groups and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And because when I first in different jobs, or I would go to these events, it was like vultures. It was like, what can I get from this person? I'm just pretending like I want to know your name, what you do. Oh, that's what you do? What can I get from them? Instead of now, when I meet somebody, I am literally thinking, what can I impart to them? What can I provide? What type of value can I give to them? And that was super uncomfortable in the beginning. Super uncomfortable. But I had to discipline myself to do that without any expectation of some kind of return. Mm-hmm. And it was almost like the universe became indebted to me. And I can't turn around without value showing up now. Mm-hmm. I can't turn around without it being returned. I don't even know how it works.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. It works.
Yeah, I've not been able to figure how it works either, but I do know the same, maybe not the same level, but I'm only going to provide value. I may get nothing from it except I provided something of value to the other person.
That's right.
And you know what it never is, or another way of saying that, you know what it never is? What you think it is.
Right.
Like, if I just give him this coffee, he'll feel better. The coffee never made the difference.
Right.
Maybe it's just the being patient with somebody, or hey, hey, I need a ride to so and so. Okay, I said I'd do something of value. If that's what you think's valuable, let's go.
Let's do it.
And that seemed to be the simplest way to, I call, avoid the discipline, avoid the punishment. But
Sure. Isn't it funny that that our talk on and us fleshing out discipline, discomfort, punishment. I like the word punishment. I can just picture a monk beating himself. I mean, I don't know. But isn't it funny that us fleshing that out and talking about that segued into the value that you provide to others?
Yep.
That's really interesting. And if somebody's watching today and you're looking at the areas of your life and you're not where you want to be, if you're not where you want to be, then you might want to listen to this podcast multiple times, because discipline's the foundation for that discomfort zone, and that discomfort zone is the only way you're going to get to where you want to be. There's no other shortcut.
yeah, I agree.
There's no other shortcut. And to be able to hear it from the mouth of a Navy SEAL, 23 years, to be able to hear it, I'm always baffled when people talk nice about me. I'm like, not that big a deal. Really, like, not at all. I do most things wrong. There's just a few simple things that I think I've gotten right? But to be able to hear it, from our organization's standpoint and what we've been able to accomplish over the last 10 years, that's how you learn. You may never meet Tom Shea, and he may never be sitting around your couch in your living room mentoring you, but you just got mentored by him. And
that's completely uncomfortable. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Completely. I'm in the zone now. Yes.
I'm in the discomfort zone.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Now doing this podcast is uncomfortable for me. It's uncomfortable. That's why I chose to do it.
Yeah.
What did I tell you on the text this morning? Hey, man, I hope that people get something out of it. But my whole reason for doing this is, through this journey, doing this podcast, is to be uncomfortable and find a better version of myself, right? And that's in that gap.
Yep.
That's solving the gap.
Whether you're watching or listening, thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Solving the Gap podcast. Check out this preview for next week's episode.
Success is boring. Once you have attained success, you're the most bored human being in the world. End of podcast. Done. Okay, thanks. Let's go drink a beer.
All right.
Success is boring.
Right.